Hello everyone, this is Nick Perry of Schaeffer's Investment Research with your chart slideshow for Wednesday, November 29th. Today I am back with my weekly check of the broad market indices. In last week's chart slideshow, basically I talked about the light action, the light participation, and how that didn't leave me with much in the way of takeaways. We talked about the uptrends still being intact. As you can see, the charts were showing pretty much straight lines, and the previous week we'd seen pretty much just a grind higher. And I said there wasn't much in the overall to take away, just given the light participation. So I don't want to dwell too much on that, and instead let's turn to this week's charts. This week we've definitely seen a bit more action, a bit more volatility. Obviously, on Monday we saw these dips here that brought the broad market indices down a few notches, kind of knocked sort of the recent grind higher, knocked a lot of that away. However, when you look at the action over the last couple of days, you see that we did have a sell-off, but we've seen a bit of a bounce back here as the indices are trying to recoup some of the losses. One of the things I've been discussing is sort of just a consolidation, and at this point it's kind of tough when you look at the SPX chart to sort of see that. We've had this straight up trend up in here, but the action here feels a little bit more choppy. One of the things that we have seen though is if you look at the SPX relative to its 50-day moving average, in this area here we were a bit extended, and now let me actually clear off the chart a little bit. When you look at the action right here, this pullback, last week's grind, all of it's sort of netting out to allow the moving average to catch up. There's nothing too terribly technical about that. It just simply signifies that we've had an uptrend and it's sort of consolidated a little bit. It's sort of taken a little bit of a breather, and the way to gauge that is just how close is it to the moving average, which is nothing more than just a tracking of the prices. So it sort of gives you a way to sort of gauge how the trend is progressing. And right now we sort of hit a little bit of a breather stage. In fact, when you look at all of the indices, you've got the SPX, the Dow, to a lesser extent the Comp, and the RUT. They've all sort of pulled back towards the 50-day moving averages, but remain well above it. One of the interesting things on the RUT is that this decline has brought the index pretty much right back to the top of that range. I didn't do a very good job of highlighting that area. Basically, all I'm talking about is you've got this little consolidation zone here where the RUT chopped around, and this pullback pretty much brought it back to retest that area, which was former resistance, now is support. You've got the moving average moving up. This red line was the all-time peak that acted as a little bit of support there, and today we're kind of flirting with that as resistance. I wouldn't consider that a major level right now. I'd more focus on this near-term action. So in fact, after today's slideshow, I'll probably take that red line out and focus more on the near-term action. As far as overall takeaways, the same thing remains in place, that the uptrends remain intact. I know that sounds boring to say week after week after week, but that's the life of dealing with the market. You track it and you follow it. We do seem to be in a little bit of a phase where the action feels like it's slowing down a little bit. How long that lasts is hard to say. In an uptrend, you do need to see consolidations, little breather periods that sort of allow the action to sort of work off the excess. Essentially, what happens is, it gives a chance. Prices pull back a little bit, they move sideways a little bit. This gives buyers a chance to sort of feel confident and jump in and sort of propel the trend higher. That's how you see sort of trends propel. One of the things was we have not seen a break below the 50-day moving averages in a number of months now. So that's something to keep an eye on. And we do have longer term support. There's gray zones, and that's not exactly real close, so we still have the possibility of seeing a pullback, which, over the last few months, a pullback has been nothing more than a down day. So let's not forget that that's still a possibility. But as it stands right now, the uptrends seem to be intact. But as always, stay tuned to the blog for further updates.